You're saying that Tesla's like Apple 15 years ago, but better. Are you buying Tesla right now?
That's probably the most bullish thing I ever heard Ross Gerber say about Tesla stock this year.
As a firm, we own Tesla as our largest position. So if you're a new client at our firm, we for sure are buying you Tesla right now. Obviously, all our existing clients already own a boatload of Tesla. So it just depends on each client's situation. But as a recommendation, Tesla is a core holding in my fund GK and should be a core holding of investors, in my opinion.
I certainly agree that in the long term, Tesla is still an amazing deal, and it's 100% of my stock portfolio, although I shouldn't really call it a stock portfolio because it's only one stock, right?
Tesla bears have been out there, Tesla short sellers for as long as I can remember. I mean, since this company became public. On a day like this, are they cheering? But it's only a 9% drop, $265. It has had an epic 2023.
Right. So I don't know what the cheering would be about if I was a bear. I mean, these are great results, and Tesla's business itself is on track. But the stock's up 115% year to date. It's trading at 60 or 70 times earnings. So it's just some profit taking that we've seen in the market with Netflix and Tesla, NVIDIA, Microsoft. We're seeing it in the core tech leaders today.
That was right after earnings, but Tesla recovered on Monday a little bit, going up 3.5%.
Ross, I take it back, because when we talk about what Brian just mentioned, and that is sort of core businesses, take it back to Tesla. Tesla's core auto business jumped 46% year over year, and they've been cutting prices. People are whining a little bit about margin compression, certainly, but all-time high quarterly revenue. They do say Q3 production is going to slow, but I remember looking on the street and maybe seeing one or two Teslas here and there.
Yeah.
Every fourth car is now a Model Y on the West Side Highway in New York. I was just in L.A. Lots of them there. This is unbelievable. And yet a lot of competitors are swirling.
Yeah, what you're saying is true. I mean, I'm in Orange County right now, and they've adopted Tesla as well. They're everywhere. So when you look at states like California, New York, and Florida, where there's a lot of Tesla adoption, there's many states like Texas where there's very little and so much opportunity. And then globally as well.
Over here in Vancouver City, Canada, sometimes I feel that Tesla is the single most popular brand out here. This is supposed to be, by the way, a very liberal city, and yet people are buying Teslas left and right.
Tesla's just at the beginning of a huge run, but the truck business is what's really exciting. And the Cybertruck being launched in the next 6 months, and really scaling next year is really what's going to drive Tesla into the next level. And that's what I'm looking for, because the rest of their business is doing quite well. And really, now that Elon's back focused on Tesla, I have a lot of confidence in the future.
Right now, Elon is spending maybe a little bit more time on X, formerly known as Twitter, but I think Elon is still quite focused. Gary here sounds alarmed, sort of. In May 2022, we warned Elon Musk to just walk away from Twitter because it was way overpriced and a mess. After he took control of Twitter, we warned again not to allow toxic content back on Twitter and to tone down his political rhetoric because it would scare off advertisers, which happened. Now we warn that tossing out 17 years of Twitter brand equity in favor of undefined brand X, even to build a super app like Tencent's WeChat, will further unsettle advertisers. This doesn't impact Tesla's fundamentals, so who cares, but we selfishly want Twitter to turn cash flow positive so Elon does not have to inject more capital, in other words, sell more Tesla stock.
Do you really believe this truck is going to come in the next couple of months?
No, what I think it will come on, New Year's Eve at 11:59, and he'll say he got it out this year, and then they're going to start deliveries next year, or maybe at like the end of this year. But I think the reality is they're going to be in the truck business in a big way in the next year or two, and I'm a long-term investor, and I'm very, very excited to be driving a Cybertruck, hopefully very soon.
It was also exciting to see the Twitter name removed from the Twitter office building. However, it appeared that police came and then stopped the removal of the Twitter name. Although the San Francisco police interrupted the dismantling of the iconic Twitter sign, they concluded that no crime was committed.
Fundstrat Global Advisors head of technical strategy, Mark. So what's the setup look like after what we saw last week?
Well, look, Tesla has had an incredible rise. It's rallied over 100% just since the middle part of April. So it's difficult for stocks to go just in a linear direction straight up without any sort of correction. So it has gotten near-term overbought. There were some instances of the stock price moving up, but momentum has not followed of late. So that's a technical concern that sometimes means that the stock might need to consolidate. So it hit $300, and recently we've seen a little bit of backing and filling in the last week. They've downgraded today. It's down to 256. So it's getting closer to an area where investors might want to consider buying dips technically. But you have to realize that the stock is incredibly volatile compared to many other stocks. It went down to almost 100. And so now here it is at 256. So still, a very, very good rally. And if anything, on an intermediate term basis, it's actually gotten a lot more bullish for between now and 2025, I would argue. But these are just near-term concerns on the stock being downgraded. So I tend to see the stock as short-term negative, but overall on an intermediate-term basis, it's still quite attractive to me.
He's an expert in technical analysis, and he thinks that in the medium to long term, Tesla stock is an attractive investment. We don't really need much help from stock astrologers, but I think many Tesla stock investors don't mind it.
We heard a lot about the buy on the dip narrative, typically during more of the bullish kind of long-term rallies that we had seen. Are we back in the throes of that right now from your perspective, or is there something else that investors should be looking out for?
Buying dips within uptrends is certainly very appropriate and useful. When stocks start to break down to new 52-week lows, oftentimes, investors make a case for value, and the stock price normally has a lot of downside momentum, and it won't always stabilize where fundamentals might justify that it should. And so it's important to take note of stocks starting to break out of longer-term downtrends, or breaking down from longer-term uptrends. It really makes a case for studying trend analysis and really helping to take the blindfold off as to how the stock might move compared to the fundamentals.
If I'm understanding him right, he is saying that you should be buying this dip of Tesla stock because in more of a long-term view, it is on the uptrend, although I'm not so sure, because if we zoom out right here, and especially if you look at this chart, I think you can make the opposite argument that this could be a terrible time to buy Tesla stock, because look at these previous times right here where it perfectly bounced on this line, and it seems like perhaps it is doing it again. But according to technical analysis, if we break through this line, it could be insanely bullish for Tesla stock. This is all, of course, stock astrology, so I wouldn't take this all too seriously, but it is quite fun to look at. However, you would be surprised how many Wall Street people actually believe in stock astrology, and when enough people believe in it, it actually starts to work.
Part of this trend, too, has been with a hype phase of AI that's been baked into some of these stocks as well.
100%. Certainly a theme I think will be with us for years to come. Quantum, AI. Look, these are all themes that are wildly bullish probably in a long run, but in the short run, you really have to try to strip the emotion out of the process and realize that stocks can and will get overbought and can correct and sometimes provide opportunities when they pull back. So, sometimes a stock doesn't always reflect what the fundamentals might say, and so that's why technicals are incredibly even more useful during times like this.
The host was really enthusiastically nodding her head, and while she was doing that, I remembered just now, on January 9th, he was also on TV talking about Tesla stock, and guess what he said about Tesla stock? Well, take a look.
Well, I think if anything, one should look at it from the opposite perspective, is that why should there be a bottom when a stock has been down over 60% in just the last 3.5, 4 months? I think, as we approach a new year, everybody always likes to say, well, it's oversold and therefore we can just step in and immediately expect mean reversion. But, technical analysis doesn't really work that way. And anything, if 2022 has taught us anything, it's that, it's almost a fallacy to expect that we can just run in and buy our favorite names just because they're down substantially when we're still within a bear market. So yes, Tesla is now officially oversold. We're getting closer to targets that I think are meaningful.
I guess in a very technical sense, he was right, because Tesla stock was at $120 when he was on that show back then in January, and Tesla stock did drop to as low as $101.81. But if you didn't buy then, you are seriously regretting that you chickened out and did not buy Tesla stock at such a low price. This is a perfect example of why I'm not really into technical analysis, because you basically looked at it and it said, yeah, fundamentally, this made so much sense to be buying as much Tesla stock as possible. And yet, the technical analysis told you, no, not yet. You just wait longer. This was roughly around the time that I made this video, which talked not just about a once-in-a-decade opportunity, but once-in-a-century opportunity to buy Tesla stock. I remember someone in the comments pointed out that Kathy had these bottles right there in the background. This was then, her fund was not doing great at all. It was a terrible time. And I was thinking to myself, I think she will be fine when Tesla stock recovers. Anyway, that video aged really well.
You know, the most accurate one for Tesla over the last year is just the 107 trading day cycle. It occurs about once every 5.5 months. If you look back, it's pinpointed almost every major peak and trough in Tesla over the last year. So until that shows some evidence of not working, you know, my thinking is that, you know, we're likely to see a bounce, but then I think we probably are going to show further weakness into the months of April, May before we really truly bottom.
Well, in all fairness, in February, we were as high as $214 per share. And then in April, we dropped lower, around $160 at one moment, and that remained for a few days in May as well. So if you bought around April and May around here, yeah, I guess you're not too upset because you still got some crazy high returns so far already, over 50%, but you are nowhere near as happy if you just bought Tesla stock in the beginning of January. And YouTube says you should watch this video next, but if you haven't finished watching this Elon Musk interview, watch this one next. My name is Matt Posius. Like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.